Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Matt, but you may know me as the Tattoo Robot. Welcome to the third and final installment of my art tutorial series. Valentine's Day is over, and this one's for all of you out there that are done with love. Let's create something a little darker. Before we dive in, let's talk a little bit about New School tattooing. It evolved from American traditional, but takes everything to the extreme. Bigger expressions, exaggerated forms, and a more dynamic sense of movement. It pulls inspiration from cartoons, graffiti, and pop culture, making it more playful and energetic. Bold lines and strong compositions are still important, but New School breaks the rigid rules of traditional tattooing, allowing for more creativity and personality. All right, time to sketch. Since this is the final heart in the series, I'm using the same base heart that I used for the other tutorials. But this time, I'm using the warp tool in Procreate to bend it into more of a C shape. The dagger will follow the same type of curve, giving the overall design some nice flow. Next, I split the heart into quadrants to make it easier to center the eye since this piece is slightly turned. I didn't plan this one out ahead of time, I just kind of let it develop. I added the eye to keep the heart from looking too boring. But once the dagger arrived, the eye looked a little too alive. So I rolled it back and made it look a bit more, well, dead. I didn't want to get too crazy with the dagger, so once I knew where the line of action would be, I kept it simple. The line of action is basically a guiding curve that helps create flow and movement in the design. In this case, it follows the same C shape as the heart to keep it unified. From there, I made the dagger a double-edged blade with a basic garden handle. I wrapped the handle in leather, and to make it feel thick and realistic, I added a little extra material wherever it overlapped. This gives it more dimension and makes the wrap look more intentional. Once the sketch is done, I move on to the line work. I use varying line weights to create depth and guide the viewer's eye. I kept the lines around the heart thicker to make it the focal point, drawing attention to it first. Thinner lines help define details like the dagger and the eye without overpowering the main shape. This balance keeps the design readable even at a distance. Got any ideas for future tutorials? Drop them in the comments. I'm always looking for something new to do, and I'm thinking maybe I'll do eyes at some point, how to make them pop, different shapes, and expressions. Another idea is all seeing eyes. They're a classic design and always sell well on a flash page. Let me know what you'd like to see next. Now for the color. Since I'm only using reds and grays, I have to be intentional with how I balance them. I start by dragging and dropping the base colors, and then I build up the shading. I like to darken the edges to push the lighting effect to make the heart feel more three-dimensional. I'm also going to add a pink edge glow to make the heart feel like there's a secondary light source from behind. Highlights can really make a design pop. For this piece, I went with some chunky highlights, but to keep things interesting, I split them with a boomerang shape. I wanted all the raised shiny areas to reflect the same light source, so I kept that consistent boomerang shape throughout all the highlights. For the dagger, I wanted the dark metal of the handguard and pommel to look metallic, with some subtle shifts in darkness. I went a little overboard at first, and had to pull back to keep it balanced. Detail is great, but adding too much to a small area can make the design feel inconsistent. I kept that in mind when coloring the blade, giving it just enough reflection to make it feel like brushed metal, but not turning it into a mirror. Finding that balance can be tricky, which is why working in layers or having a reference is key. For the handle, here's where I cheated a little. I wanted that leather-wrapped look, but I didn't want to spend a ton of time on texture, so I used the aged skin brush that's built into Procreate to add those finer details. Was it necessary? Not really. This piece would have looked great without it, but I decided to add it for a little bit of extra depth. I also added a little shadowing to make the leather pop, but for the highlights, I didn't want to make them look too shiny, so I placed them under the skin texture layer to keep them subtle. Alright, well, there's the finished product, and I'm sorry, but I'm not going to do any more tutorials for a while. I feel like it's attracting the wrong audience, and I'm really only interested in the people who are interested in me and my artwork, and that's not what's happening here. So, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do next, but yeah, if you want to stick around and follow me through this next chapter where I start diving into 3D artwork and animation, then awesome. Like, please fucking tell me what you want to see from me, and like let's make something fucking awesome. But as of right now, I don't feel like what I'm doing is authentic, and I'm only doing it for the views, and that really bothers the shit out of me. So yeah, that's all I got. All right, thanks.